I think the controversy really stems from the fact that it's not Supervalu Park Chaoimh, it's just Supervalu Park, and they're taking away the Chaoimh name. Obviously, they didn't. Apparently, they didn't consult the family over this, which is really bad form from Cork GAA. But Crackety Ash with another comment here, lads, they're never this town. I for one will only refer to it as Supervalu Park from now on. Oh my! The comments in here are probably the most 10 minutes into my own podcast, and probably because of this story this week. But I wanted to, after all that, we get your views on it, Seamus. So, what do you think of it?
Well, as a dub, didn't like it one bit. Definitely was looking at this thinking like, what's going on? First reaction was, okay, well, nice, but no one's ever going to call it Supervalu Park. But clearly, the crack of the ash there is different. But my first reaction was, do you remember when Mike Ashley changed the name of St. James's Park to Sports Direct Arena? Nobody ever called it that. No one ever called it Sports Direct Arena. Like everybody called it St. James's, still St. James's Park, still, and like nobody will ever think of. Realistically, I know there's banter and everything like that, but nobody will ever really think of Pairc Ui Chaoimh as Supervalu Park. Like, no one will ever be like, oh yeah, that's where we're going. It's Pairc Ui Chaoimh. And like, the thing that, like, I completely agree with your TikTok and your tweet. Like, straight away, I was like, don't have any disagreements with this at all. And I retweeted it and I said, like, not exactly amateur, not exactly the behavior of an amateur sporting organization, is it? To try and wring as much cash as you can, because the question has to come down then to how have they ended up here? What's gone on? How have you ended up 3 million in debt? Like, I get the position you're in now and you have to make money. Yeah, okay, all means, but like, why have you ended up here? What's gone on? It's the same thing with Dublin. Like, a lot of people, rightfully so, point out that Dublin played too many games in Croke Park. That's true. That is true. But the GAA have allowed a position now. Anybody who's watching this who has never been to Parnell Park, believe me, it would not be safe to host Dublin Championship games in Parnell Park. Parnell Park only holds 10,000 people, and the car park it's literally in the middle of a housing estate. It's not safe to host. It doesn't have the infrastructure to host a Dublin Championship game. It's fine. It's actually brilliant for the Dublin Hurling Championship. I love it for the Dublin Hurling Championship. I love it for the Dublin Club Championship. It's a great ground. It's a really, really good. But the reality is too many people would show up for the footballers and it wouldn't be safe. So the GAA have allowed this situation to develop over the years. And now we're in a position where the GAA either build Dublin an entirely new stadium somewhere or let them play in Croke Park. So the questions don't need to be asked about the situation that are in now. The questions need to be asked about what has led to this absolute mess of a situation that they're in now, where like you're selling the name of your ground. And like the one thing as well is that I said it to you off air that someone said at least it's not the Sports Direct Arena, and I was like, wow, that's safe for Pairc Ui Chaoimh. Like there's another one there that Cork have. They'll be getting onto that one next. It is sad to see tradition being picked as kind of their first one to go. And look, I feel for Kevin O'Donovan. He's in a position where like it's basically like he's on the Titanic and they've hit the iceberg already. But the questions don't need to be asked of like the questions need to be asked of how have you ended up in this position? Who was in charge of this amount of money that you were burning through to get you to this place?
Definitely a very good point. And the comments are flying in here. 3 more comments here. And I haven't actually got more comments on a video in my life, I don't think. But Peter Byrne in Cork probably broke from stadium refurbishment and Supervalu potential sponsors. Padraig Lyon says here, sure, they may as well name Croke Park AIG Arena. That used to be the sponsor of the Dubs.
Stay City. Stay City Arena.
Arnis Arena. That actually, I don't know, AOG or Arnis Arena, they probably, it rolls off the tongue, Arnis Arena probably more. It's 30 million, but it's a gorgeous stadium. In fairness, it is in fairness.
It's a lovely stadium.
Yeah.
It's a lovely stadium.
It's probably the best in the country, but I'd agree with Seamus here, like, I'd agree with, that I'd feel sorry for Kevin O'Donovan for being in this situation. He's trying to explain himself on many podcasts. But you have to question how they got here in the first place, 30 million. And another comment has come in here. It sets a bad precedent that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Imagine local grounds changing their names. Disrespectful. And I
That's
will
it,
actually...
because it's a domino, like. Do you get what I
Mm.
mean? Like, you look at other counties that aren't exactly swimming in money, but have
Yeah.
historical names of stadiums, and you just think, who's gonna go next? Like, you could pluck any name out, and like, is Pairc Stadium going to be next? Are they going to be called the Supermax Arena? Is like, is Pairc Sean McDermott, like, after one of the rising leaders? Is that going to be next? Like, it's just
that actually, if you just interrupt you, Seamus, that actually got sponsored by Avantcard, I think it was.
Oh, so it actually already is changed.
Yeah, it's Avantcard. I think it's Avantcard, Pairc Sean McDermott, but people still refer to it as Pairc Sean McDermott. But I think the main point is, in this sponsorship deal, it isn't Supervalu Park Ui Chaoimh, it's Supervalu Park without
Yeah.
Queeve at the end of it. That's what's the controversy this has come to.
But that's it, and people don't necessarily have that much of an issue with like Kingspan Breffni Park or I mean, there'd be a statue going up of them anyway. But the TUS Gaelic grounds, like Kingspan
FBD
Breffni
Simple
Park.
Stadium.
What?
FBD Simple Stadium.
Yeah, FBD Simple Stadium, and then the way that Netwatch Cullen Park used to be, like they're fine. You can absolutely work with them, but Supervalu Park, come on, man, cop on, will you? Like, no one's gonna accept that, and that needs to be like at the very least a compromise that you try and work towards. Like, look, that's the other thing as well, is that I seen Billy Morgan came out and he talked about it, and he says like the people running it don't understand who Pairc Ui Chaoimh was. He doesn't understand how significant of a person that was in Cork's GAA history. And it's just like, yeah, it comes across that way. And look, I've watched a couple of Kevin O'Donovan's interviews. He does seem like, from watching them, you can tell looking at him that he kind of knows he's on the defensive. Like, he knows that a lot of people are going to be very unhappy with the way that he's doing, and he's giving off the aura of like, look, man, this is just my job. I have to do what I have to do. But like, still, people aren't going to be happy. And the reality is find another way, man. Come on, like Supervalu Pairc Ui Chaoimh, that would be okay. Supervalu Pairc Ui Chaoimh, you're in the situation that you're in. It's not ideal. Like, not everybody's going to be and let's be honest, nobody will say it. Like, nobody will put the Supervalu in. But you're in this position because of the spending of people that were around you, if not a system that you were involved in yourself. So you can't be like, oh, well, it's the situation that we're in. So, but no, hang on. People around you are the reason that you're in the situation that you're in. So it's not fair on the Cork fans that tradition is being disrespected like this. It's not fair on the people who built up that stadium that tradition is being disrespected like that.
Definitely so. And another comment's coming here. There must be a right good Supervalu stores in Cork. I actually slipped there. There is, Supervalu Clonakilty is very good actually. To do some shopping there actually. But that's the thing with it, isn't it? Like, there's been ridiculous spending. They can't really be. And remember actually with the Cork and Kerry Parky Rinner Nowhere saga, that stemmed from Pairc Ui Chaoimh holding an Ed Sheeran concert. And they need the money for that. And it's going to be controversy after controversy. And even in the Alliance League, which we'll talk about next week in more detail, the first two games for Cork against Donegal and Louth are both away games. And why is that? Because Pairc Ui Chaoimh is holding a monster game against the Crusaders in rugby, again to gain more revenue. And that's the point as well, Seamus, when you think about it. Other than, yes, the Cork hurlers will sell out Pairc Ui Chaoimh. There are some brilliant support there. Even the Cork Tipperary game, it was bouncing last year. But right as of now, I know the Cork footballers are getting on the road back to recovery with John Cleary at the helm. They're doing really well. But right as of now, Cork and Kerry's not going to sell out Pairc Ui Chaoimh. At most, I'd say it'll be about 20,000. That will nowhere near fill the stadium. So is there kind of an argument that Cork GAA need to do whatever it takes to, reduce the debt in the next few years? I know it won't be quickly in a way, but they have to do whatever it takes, whether it be concerts, rugby games, or potentially these sponsorship deals too.
Well, that's the thing. They need to get creative in the off season. Like, they really, really do need to get creative in the off season. The timing is poor. Like the timing of like, why does it have to be during the championship? Why does it have to be during the league? You had basically the entire club championship to work with there. Like if there was a few years where, you know, Cork had to play their club championship games in Pairc Ui so that Pairc Ui Chaoimh could make the money, I don't think people would complain as much. Maybe they wouldn't be happy about it, but like Pairc Ui is kind of similar size to Parnell Park. The Dublin Club Championship takes place in Parnell Park. And nobody in Dublin is at any way saying, oh, we should play this in a bigger stadium. Like everybody's happy out in Parnell Park. It's a great arena for those club games. It's like you'd be looking at it saying, okay, come on, use your head now, rack your brain a little bit. You've got the NFL coming over and doing, you know, shows in Dublin, for example, like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Notre Dame. Love Ireland. Like, why aren't Cork reaching out there and saying, like, do you want to come and play a few games in Pairc Ui Chaoimh, a few exhibition games? That would be a great revenue income for Pairc Ui Chaoimh. Concerts over the winter, like things like this, that could be a good income for the stadium. It's about using your head and, like, at the same time, trying to fill out the stadium as much as you can. Be creative with trying to draw attendances. Cork fans need to rally behind their teams now as much as they ever have before, because they have a really, really good hurling team. They have a football team that are, you know, climbing up that hill, like dragging themselves up that hill with a really good coach. And then they have on the other side, they have the Camogie All-Ireland champions. They have the ladies Gaelic footballers who are a really, really good team, who made it to the semi-finals last year, who could be contenders again next year. And like, you look at the little campaign, for example, this, you know, goal of smashing the record and trying to fill every seat in the stadium for the LGFA championships next year. Cork should be jumping on board with that. It would benefit the LGFA to get those seats filled, and it would sure as hell benefit Pairc Ui Chaoimh to get those seats filled as well.